Hey everyone, it's Christy and Charlie here. On today's episode of Forward Thinking Podcast, we're going to go through 3 ways to get your marketing team to perform better. And actually, none of them have anything to do with marketing. So today we're going to talk about 3 specific things you can do. It's a quick one today, but that you can, as a marketing ops team or even just a marketing team, put into practice across the team that will actually, I think, improve how the team works together, their adoption of things. And so we'll just dive into that. So
yeah, and the only other thing to add is when you think about what marketing operations is, it is primarily people, process, tech, and data, right? Don't forget the people part. That's what we're going to focus on today. And this doesn't have to, the people part of kind of how to operate and how to make a well-functioning team doesn't always have to come from the top down, like management. So if you're a marketing operations manager, marketing operations senior manager, director, whatever, maybe you don't think you have as much influence over the rest of the team, you can still do this stuff. And Chris has got a lot of good examples in your past roles, right, that you're going to go through when you're in-house. So let's dive right in. What's the first one?
Cool, yeah. And I will preface this by saying that right now, especially when everyone's working from home and they're missing that like people part, they're missing just being one-to-one. I think a lot of these are super important to start doing to kind of build up that culture again. And all of them you can do with a remote team. So being a remote team for the past 6 years, we've kind of also realized how important some of these things are too. So the first thing is peer-to-peer recognition. And like Charlie said, this is something where, giving recognition doesn't always have to fall on the shoulders of an executive or leadership. Really, peer-to-peer recognition can actually make the team closer together, and they have a better idea of, what their other peers are doing and what they're doing great. And this kind of creates a good kind of morale, and they can give, shout outs to each other. So, the first thing is it can be different things. So really you can start this out by just, in your weekly team meetings, you can have peer-to-peers actually giving shout outs for each other. So what did someone from last week do great? I've had a leader of marketing actually do this before. And I always thought, what a great way to start off the meeting and it gets everyone kind of jazzed up. The second thing is you can do peer-to-peer gifting. And this is just a way where, you can give the team $100 that, during the month or the quarter to actually gift to another person on the team at any time. Whatever they want to do, but they need to use it. And it's to someone who's doing something amazing or help them or just to actually give them that shout out. And this is something that actually I did in-house at a past company. When I built up the marketing operations team, I wanted us to highlight the people outside of marketing ops that were really adopting our marketing automation platform, going above and beyond and really learning and setting up their own programs. And we would give $100 to whatever restaurant they wanted.
I just realized I was working in that in-house role. I never got that $100.
You were already an outstanding person upholding to everything. And so we wanted to gift it to the people that, went above and beyond what they normally were doing. You were kind of
okay. So I was already going above and beyond. So the difference in, I didn't go kind of further above and beyond. Okay.
I think I also felt a bit weird about gifting it to you because of personal
Let's move
reasons.
on.
Okay, so those are a few examples, but
yeah, I think just to jump in here, marketing operations people were great at developing systems and operationalizing things, right? So just try and think about how do you bake this into what everyone does. I think your example there was really good before, where your boss would kick off the meeting with a recognition 10 minutes or whatever, where everyone can shout out each other. And then the gift carding thing, maybe, how do you, like, if you want to operationalize that potentially with a tool that could help the team to give access to a tool, and there's platforms out there that you could use, or, you just make sure that somewhere it's documented that like, this is the allowance and this is how you you get, you can purchase, through this site, or like you have to message this person and they'll purchase it,
Mhm.
like figuring out the process to make sure it happens and it's fluid and it's not awkward. And that's
Yeah.
where, you've come up with the idea, but then if you can operationalize it well, then people will use it, and it will actually be kind of a big part of how the team works.
Totally. And at that job, I really benefited because we had an internal intranet and I had my own space for my department, and I could put a lot of effort into calling out and giving those awards, including picture of them, examples of exactly what they
Hmm.
did. And I think that's something you want to focus on, like really give specific recognition as to what they're doing. That it gives people ideas of what, going above and beyond is, but also just is very insightful for other people outside of even the marketing ops team, or other departments saw this, which I thought was really great. And so if your marketing has like an internal newsletter, or marketing ops has one just to the marketing team, that's a great place to highlight those. And that can be like monthly or quarterly, like we said.
Yeah, and the bang for buck for this is insane, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
spending a huge amount of money or time on it. And I think I remember, forget what the stat is, but I think one of the big issues with employee retention and employee happiness at companies is lack of recognition, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait for that lack of recognition to come from the top down. Like, you can start fostering that, peer to peer and horizontally, as opposed to like vertically from top down. So yeah.
Totally. Okay, so peer-to-peer recognition. The second one is gamification, which I think all marketers kind of know what that is now, but really it's kind of putting in some type of awards or badges or any type of system like that people can receive for hitting like a certain milestone or achieving something. And so when you have that in place, people really be focused on trying to get them. And so that just fosters their behavior to change, or certain behaviors. And there's fun ways you can go about doing this, like really giving awards for specific activities. So if you have a decentralized model, or if you work with like a marketing team and you're the marketing ops, you can give like certain awards, like an early bird award. So that's for someone who hits all the SLAs. So sends in their request early instead of late. How many times does that happen to a
The great
marketing
thing
ops?
about the early bird award is you'll probably never have to give it to anyone, right? Because no one ever follows SLAs. So you should make that award like $1 million award,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
kind of like lottery odds.
$1,000. No, but having like, little awards or badges for that. This can even be like go into your gifting. So
Hmm.
like if you have these awards, you can then do a standout like gift award or something quarterly where they win something. And that could be to go something to go toward bettering themselves, or like a fun gift. Like, I don't know. You can even go big with your marketing team and say like give, Peloton or something, or a
Whoa.
subscription. I don't know, like you could, depending on what your budget is for this, I think you could go big.
Yeah, and I think the important part of this is linking this to one of your priorities, right? So
Totally.
like, if people aren't following SLAs and it's a mess and you're just crazy, you just can't keep up, then make the SLA award, right?
Hmm.
If one of your problems is the marketing team just basically just wants to do batch and blast emails and to just everyone, the whole database, then you should do like an email conversion rate
Yes.
award. Like,
Yeah,
who can get the best conversion rate, and then people are going to be like, oh, okay, if I want to get that award, I'm going to have to send to less people, right? And be
totally.
really targeted.
Oh, I love that
um
idea. I think, yeah, looking at where you see areas of opportunity to create change, I think it is amazing. Yeah, I like that idea.
and I think, to your point, scale the award to the outcome, right? So
Hmm.
like, if it's a small thing, kind of like, I don't know, we thought about one like an attention to detail award. Like, whoever, if you've got a kind of a middle ground decentralized approach with campaign operations, where the team will create their emails and then they send it to mops to do QA, like whoever's emails have the least amount of issues in them, like, get that award. That's like a decent thing, but maybe you don't need to give them a Peloton for that.
Yeah.
But if there is like the big one, maybe like the email one or another thing that's just like literally a huge problem, and you can figure out an award that would drive the right behavior, then you probably should give a big award for that. Because, if you're saving hundreds of man and women hours every month, that's a huge amount of cost savings for the business. Or if there's going to be a lot of like revenue impact or whatever, then you can give a good award for that. And I think,
Yeah.
Marketing ops person, you might have to fight for it with your boss and try and get budget and things like that. But, I think start with maybe the small things and work your way up and prove out the concept. But I think it's a good way to drive change for sure.
Yeah. And I think if you work on like kind of small things and even creating like little fun like badges or tracking the history of those for everyone across the team that you're pointing to, you can then, at the end of the year, gift whoever has the most badges, or really do recognition, give out like fun trophies or something. So make it be small things that they can work to. And at the end, do a big reward for someone who really upheld to all of that. And that's a great, easy way to do that. So moving on. So the third one, and something that I think we have experience with, and I think a lot of marketing ops teams can instill, is kind of internal certification. So a lot of the times when we think about people bettering themselves, we think about external certifications. What courses can you do? What podcasts can you listen to from a learning perspective? All education outside of what's going on internally. But internal certifications can be great to maintaining like a certain level of expertise across the team, ensuring that people are set up for success when they're, meant to do something. So, and ensuring that there's not just an even spread of people, upholding what you should be doing versus some maybe people who maybe deprioritize it and then cause issues for the rest of the team, because the work will always fall onto someone else. And so one of the things that, and actually Daryl Alfonso, when he was on our podcast, talked about at Amazon, they do their own internal certification steps in order to make it through the ranks of like, who creates a program, who can actually do certain things in Marketo, and all the way up to someone who's certified as like an admin that can do a lot. If you have less layers than that, or if you are working with a decentralized model, you can do something similar to what I did a past role at our company Jive. And we did so we use Marketo. So it could be X, whatever tool or multiple tools, but doing trainings for the team on how to use that platform. And that was a, general training. But then the second day was specifically, how does Jive use Marketo, because they're very different, right? Which is why internal certifications and internal training is good, because learning Marketo doesn't mean you know how to use it at your company. It doesn't set you up for success. So the second part was focused on, how do we use it here? And then I came up with my own custom quiz, and people actually had to pass that quiz in order to start working in Marketo and create their own programs. And the benefit of them doing that is they weren't reliant on my team, which meant that they had to wait a longer time to get their programs done. And really, we kind of needed to push them all to get that certification by a certain date. So I think, Charlie, you took that quiz.
Yeah, I was going to say, fun fact, during that training was the first time we ever met in person.
Yeah.
So you might find your future business partner and wife out of that. These trainings. That's not
He got
very
an A+.
PC.
So I was like, well, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the you can vary the kind of intensity, or kind of this, like, right, that you did the training and the quiz. The Amazon approach is like, has lots of like the other layers, and they have like different, I think even at one point Daryl like will do like a live thing and like watch people in Marketo. So build it for what works for you and your instance and your team and your specific situation. And it's kind of like a more advanced thing, gamification, really, because you're trying to get people to work with the tool better, learn, do training by themselves, figure out things, and then they get the award where they get the, the internal certification, that's good for them in their career, right? Because they, if they ever think about leaving one day, they can say, I worked through these internal certifications. So they should be very kind of into it and motivated by that. And it's good for you too, because you have standardized levels where you can make sure people have to get kind of this level of experience or pass this certification to get this level of access, and that maps to your permissions for your different roles in your marketing automation platform.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to gain control and really build a kind of a well-functioning and team that can excel using your tools.
Yeah, and I think that I took some of that stuff for granted. I went from early on in my career at Marketo, where we had a very a great culture of learning. We were always trying to learn. My team was part of a demand center where we were doing a lot of functional trainings for the rest of the marketing team. We really owned our areas. People looked to our team for expertise, but there was cross training everywhere going on, and certifications. And then I went on to Jive and kind of took that and instilled it into the environment too. But then over time, as I saw other organizations, I was like, oh, well, not everyone has this. And I think it's because, one, it's not a level priority that's set across the team, and people become too busy, and everyone's kind of expected when they're hired as experts to just be the expert on that thing, but then never really share the expertise across the team. And I know from experience, it's really easy to put some of that stuff to the wayside, even at CS2 when you get super busy. But all of these things are super important, and sometimes can even make the time that you put other things to the side to really put these in place. The benefit you would get from your marketing and the performance of the team will outweigh that short blip of time where you had to slow things down. So I would highly suggest, if you're a manager listening to this, think about how you can incorporate these programs. If you're an individual contributor, this is a great thing if you feel like it's missing to bring up to your boss in your one-on-one. Especially,
well, it's a great thing for an IC to just, managers are always looking for people to go the extra mile, right?
Totally.
Like if you're like, do you know what, manager, I know you're really busy, but I think this would be really great. Maybe this gamification thing or peer-to-peer recognition. And I'm willing to own it. I'll figure out the systems to be able to manage it. I will add this onto my plate.
Yeah.
That was going to look really good for you. And if that then has all of these incredible benefits, then that's just a good way to fast track your career, right?
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And it's fun, right? It adds a level of fun. Like you could be the person that just hypes people up, people that are giving recognition. And if you're a source of that, that's great for your career, but also just how, how rewarding is that, right? And a lot of the times what makes our work, great is if it's rewarding. So I, definitely, highly encourage that for individual contributors as well. So yeah, those three things. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And if you like this episode, or if you feel like your manager would benefit from listening to this episode, or anyone across the team, definitely share it. And, we hope you enjoyed and put these into practice. And we'll see you on the next episode of Forward Thinking. Have a great one.